most people are unable to see the fragility of the structures around them and how easily they can collapse. I think people have lost faith across the political spectrum in neoliberalism. They're not buying it. Everything that neoliberalism and globalization supposedly was going to bring us is a lie. It has concentrated wealth into the hands of a global corporate oligarchic elite. It has pushed down wages. It has created chronic unemployment and underemployment. It has eviscerated the middle class. And it has not been a force, as it claims, for democratization. In fact, the opposite. It has been a force that has destroyed civil liberties. The lie is harder and harder to sustain because it's more palpable in the physical conditions around us. You drive through city after city in America, and it's just wasteland after wasteland. Our infrastructure is falling apart. We lie about unemployment figures. I think the LA Times a year or two ago ran a story saying real unemployment is probably about 17%. But even then, half of America, by official statistics, lives in poverty. That's 40,000 per household, which most economists argue is an unrealistic dividing line. But then you add the category of near poverty, which is another. You're pushing 2/3 of the country.
Sometimes it's important to just listen to the masters, just for a second. That's Chris Hedges. Chris Hedges is the infamous, very, very liberal left commentator who worked for the New York Times for 10 years. He covered wars and famine and the issue in Yugoslavia where the economy collapsed. So Chris Hedges is I know a lot of people watching this are not familiar with these. Chris Hedges, in my view, is kind of the reincarnation of Noam Chomsky, or just a younger version of Noam Chomsky. And you hear how he lays it out, right? There's nothing. That's 2015, by the way. I found that clip on Vice. It's not different than anything that you would hear from Chris Hedges today. But what did he talk about? He said consolidated wealth, that the neoliberalism, the model, does actually the exact opposite of what it claims to do. In fact, it creates more unemployment to the tune of 17%, according to, what was that, the LA Times. And so all the lies, all the misconception of people and he also said that it affects 2/3 of the country, right? And that's consistent with 1 in 7 people on food stamps, 80% of the country living paycheck to paycheck, working 2.5 jobs. 65% of the country doesn't have $400 to their name. All of those figures, what we see around us, are consistent with what Chris Hedges is saying. So let's talk about the stock market for a second, because it does appear that what he's going to talk about. I want to continue to play what Chris Hedges says, because it's really, again, there's a time to speak, and then there's a time to listen. And I believe that this is becoming one of those times where we have to listen to the masters, listen to the experts, the people that have been following this for years and years and years, screaming from the rooftops that the inevitable collapse is coming. So I just turned this on. It's 10:04 in New York right now, and the last check, the Dow yesterday was up 1,000. This is common. Volatility in down markets is common. Things don't go straight down; they go up and down, up and down. They roller coaster back and forth because of the nature of the trades, the short sale, the long sale. Right. So up 1,000 yesterday, and at 9:56 we were down 428 already on the Dow. Right. Not even 20 minutes into the trading session, it's down. So, again, it's not. And tragically, what did you have Trump saying yesterday when the market was right before that 1,000-point rally? What did he say? Quote, "We have companies, the greatest in the world, and they're doing really well. They have record kind of numbers. So I think it's a tremendous opportunity to buy. Really a great opportunity to buy." Now, that's unprecedented for a president of the United States to come out in public and say buy stock. It's unprecedented. I've never seen I mean, in recorded history, no one has ever said bye, as a president, right? And he's also just, it's gibberish, right? What he's saying is gibberish. They have record kinds of numbers. What the fuck does that mean? Record kinds of numbers. They're doing really well. What does that mean? Really well. They're not doing really well. They're choking. Are they really good companies? Yeah, they could be really good companies. A lot of them are good companies. But their business models are that of fraud and unregulated tax evasion. Right? So you got to correct the problem, right? So that's the market. That's Trump's view of the market. Buy. He's saying buy when the shit is going down, right? It's going down in the toilet, right? It fell off the cliff, and the president of the United States is saying it's a buying opportunity. So it's rather tragic, right? So what is the solution, right? I know people want to hear the solution, right? It's easy to identify the problem because it's happening all around us now, and you've got people that absolutely refuse to see it, and that's fine. Well, those kind of folks usually get run over. So let's listen to Chris Hedges' solution. And I've been saying a lot of these things all along, but let's hear Chris Hedges because it's a time to listen. We'll hear what Chris Hedges has to say about revolution.
Do you think a revolution could happen in North America?
Well, I hope so. It's all we have left. I think when you look at all of the ingredients that go into creating revolt, the ingredients are there. We are going to have to destroy the system of corporate power by non-cooperation, by obstruction, and by refusing to be fooled by these very clever political carnivals, Canada having just finished one, that cough up these ineffectual figures. It's up to us, and it means acts of sustained civil disobedience. We have a moral imperative to stand up, if not for ourselves, for those who come after. If we remain passive, then we are accepting the death sentence that's being handed to us by these corporate forces. There is no way in the American political system to vote against the interests of Goldman Sachs. You can't do it. And so that creates governmental paralysis, the inability on the part of the government to do anything but serve the needs of a tiny cabal, in this case, a corporate cabal.
In other words, people feel like the game is fixed.
But it is fixed. And it's not like they feel like the game is fixed, that they're beginning to know the game is fixed. And once they know the game is fixed, it becomes very dangerous. There are a lot of myths about revolution. They're driven by what Bakunin calls déclassé intellectuals, which is what the Occupy movement was. Highly educated white sons and daughters of the middle class who began to experience what people of color have been experiencing for decades. Unemployment, police repression, foreclosure, all that kind of stuff. And that's why the Occupy movement was an important and a seminal moment in modern history, because it, for the first time, fused those déclassé intellectuals with the underclass.
Wow, pretty smart guy, right? He's talking about passive resistance, right? Fucking just been screaming for the last 2 weeks, right? He talked about revolt, right? Destroying the systems of corporate power, right? This is what we have to do. That's part of the solution, but he said non-cooperation, obstruction, civil disobedience. That's sort of insane, right? It's a boycott, right? Through a boycott, we civilly disobey, and that's kind of, that's expressed in yellow vest. Out on the street, show your face, show your numbers, right? That's important, to show your numbers. That's what that's all about, right? It's not just running around and, look, they're going to paint it as a violent, movement. But if people just simply show their numbers in yellow vests, that's a good thing to do, at least once a week. I believe that if the U.S. can, if people would get off their asses and come together via simple yellow vest or whatever kind of costume you want to wear, right? So long as you're grounded in what the point of it is, which is to destroy the system of corporate power, right? That's the problem right now. Right? He also talked about, he touted Occupy Wall Street, which he goes on in that interview to talk about Zuccotti Park, which I mean, Zuccotti Park, I've done five videos there, is very, very close by. It's right across, it's the little park right across the street from the 9/11 monument. And that was leveled during 9/11. It was literally flattened and then rebuilt. But so that's Chris Hedges, and what the biggest takeaway of all, the biggest thing he said was what? Passive. When people are passive, what does that mean? It means you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs, waiting for something to happen. Oh no, it's going to happen, right? That's the death sentence. Right? People waiting, twiddling their thumbs, waiting for something to happen from the top down is ridiculous, right? In fact, it's so ridiculous that the person that a lot of people are waiting for to initiate a revolution is the guy saying that it's a tremendous buy opportunity at the bottom, right? He's telling 70% of the country who have no money at all, it's time to buy stocks. Right? It's so ridiculous, really, when you think about it. Right? Now, will people take that lead? Now, the gurus of this, people like Chris Hedges, people like Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky's not even allowed to be on TV anymore. You don't. And Chris Hedges, I just reached out to Chris Hedges to do an interview. I want to do a walkthrough at Zuccotti Park. I don't know if he'll take me up on it because, hey, I'm a nobody, right? But if he does, that's who people like Chris Hedges and Noam Chomsky have to reach out to, because they're totally, blacklisted from mainstream media, corporately owned media, the same corporations that are part of the system that needs to be destroyed, right? The corporate media is owned by these corporations, right? That's what they are. They are the corporations. They're the mouthpiece of the corporations. It's only six media companies left that control the narrative. It's rather crazy. I mean, we have monopolies all over the place. Monopolies in corporations, monopolies in the media. Right? It's like, and his comment on Goldman Sachs is brilliant. He said that there's no way to fight the voice of these enormously powerful banks, right? That play directly against the people, right? Goldman Sachs is one of them, but there's also, right now we're identifying, Steve Mnuchin, the Secretary of the Treasury, has identified the 6 major targets, which is Bank America, Morgan Stanley, J.P. Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo. I think that's all 6. Right? You can throw Prudential in there, right? All these very, very sleazy banks that have a business model of fraud is really, really what's going on right now. So enjoy the market tanking, because it's going to continue to go down, right? And I mean, I don't know what the forecast is. Things go down. They keep going down, and they tend to go down faster than they go up. They don't go straight down, but the zigzag pattern is quite normal. And it could close today, down 100, and then the next day it comes crashing down. So that's going to be a new pattern. What is the target low? I don't know. It could go all the way back to 2009 levels. Who knows, right? Things go down. They keep going down until they go up, right? That's just the way it is. It comes down until there's a clear leveling off reversal pattern, and then you go back into a bull market. But the reversal has now occurred into a bear market, and one day's rally doesn't change the trend. Right? So, Marcus Conte reporting.
There's a passage in Kissinger's memoirs, and no one should ever buy the book, where it's, I think, 1971, and there are tens of thousands of anti-war protesters surrounding the White House, which is what we have to get back to. And Nixon has taken empty city buses end to end and put them all around the White House to protect the White House. And he's looking out the window, wringing his hands, going, Henry, they're going to break through the barricades and get us. And that's exactly where we want all people in power to be. That's our goal.